Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is? You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now let me do a quick one, man. I'm out here chilling, so I ain't, trying to do this real in the next days, a couple of days, take a couple of days off. But I just read something and I just thought about I'm gonna go and do this real quick. I heard that Eddie Hearn, the promoter of Anthony Joshua and others, right? Eddie Hearn, Katie Taylor, right? Undisputed Girl. He's also promoter now of Canelo Alvarez. And he said about a day ago that a prime Canelo Alvarez would be the prime Floyd Mayweather Jr. Now, first of all, that's ludicrous. Okay? It's not a good statement, but let's put the brakes on it. He is promoting Canelo before Canelo's fight against Dimitri Bivol, which I told you guys, 2 months ago, that Canelo was going to be able to fight Bivol, where all Russian athletes can't participate. They're not going to be participating in the French Open or Wimbledon when it comes to tennis. They're not participating in a lot of things, right? But I knew because it's Canelo, people don't give a damn. So he's going to fight Bivol on the weekend. And, so Eddie Hearn has to promote. So he's saying something that's outlandish. And it's just kind of funny to hear that because, first of all, Canelo was 23 years old and he was in his prime. Or he's in his prime now. But we can call Canelo young at 23, but not Floyd Mayweather when he was 23 or anyone else at 23. Devin Haney is 23, right? So then they call Floyd at 36 years old. They didn't call him old. They call him the much experienced Floyd when he fought Canelo. But 36 is old for a boxer, especially one in the lighter weight divisions. So actually Floyd Mayweather was old. Canelo, there's no excuse for losing every damn round against Floyd Mayweather. Now, and Canelo has the luxury of being, they say, well, he's improved since that fight. The problem I have that, because improved, you have the word proved in there, right? And he hasn't really proved that he can beat a fighter similar to Floyd Mayweather in terms of, his quickness, ring generalship. Closest one would probably be Caleb Plant or maybe Billy Joe Saunders, right? But if he wanted to prove that he's improved since Floyd Mayweather or Eris Lara, when you're talking about it, right? He could have proved it then, right? Against Lara, he didn't rematch him, and he won't fight Demetrius Andrade or Jamal Charlo, but Demetrius Andrade more so. Because like I said before, Demetrius Andrade is the kind of guy that would embarrass you. Now, for Canelo, it should be embarrassing that he won't fight Demetrius Andrade because you're talking about 154 pounds when Demetrius Andrade and the Charlo brothers were all three champions. Canelo didn't have a belt, and he was the mandatory for Demetrius Andrade. He didn't have to fight him, even though Demetrius Andrade was calling him out of his name. He didn't fight either one of all three of those guys. They moved up to 160. They followed him. He didn't fight, not they, only two of them, Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade. Jamal Charlo became Canelo's mandatory, and that's when we had this franchise title so he can avoid fighting Jamal Charlo. And Demetrius Andrade became a champion also, WBO style, and start calling him out again and offered him an undisputed fight and $40 million, and Canelo didn't accept. So Canelo's being able to run away from these kind of fighters, and the industry is letting him do so. So when Eddie Hearn says something like that, he's being outlandish, but he's being a promoter first. Listen, this is not worse than any other promoters. I know he doesn't mean that, right? Because it would make no sense. Where is the logic behind that? I know everyone in the industry tries to act like Canelo has really done great things, that he's done pretty good things, but all the fights are to avoid certain fighters. And it should be embarrassing. Canelo fans, it should be really embarrassing that this is the guy that you're saying is so great. And there's some people in parallel divisions, parallel universes that's been there forever. Not some new guys, not some guys that don't bring anything to the table. We're talking about undefeated champions that are begging to fight him. And he keeps going to other divisions. And, because he can get credit for going up in weight. But when you go up in weight, right, that's cool. But it's not cool when there's people in your weight division that are champions that are begging to fight you, right? And have undisputed status. Why did we care about undisputed at 168 pounds when no one hard was there? Instead of undisputed at 160 pounds, and that's the middleweight division. When think about it, Canelo would have became, he had all the belts and could have just fought only Andrade in a huge fight. And he would have been undisputed at middleweight. Everybody acts like they didn't, they didn't really realize that, right? That's what the fight should have happened. So instead of doing that, he said, well, I'm going to go up 2 weight division to fight Kovalev. And that's why I told you Kovalev got $12 million because he was going to pay Kovalev anything. Because the point was, please fight me so nobody will pay attention to the fact that I'm avoiding Demetrius Andrade for $40 million. I know people don't like to hear it, but these are the facts. So yeah, Eddie Hearn says that he would be the prime Floyd Mayweather. I don't really think we have to address that. I think that sounds ludicrous. And let's make sure this is clear. Floyd Mayweather was 15, 20, maybe even 25 pounds lighter than Canelo Alvarez and 13 years older than Canelo Alvarez. And after his hands were brittle, and so you wasn't gonna knock him out, so Canelo had nothing to worry about. But that explains why I ain't gonna fight no heavier Floyd Mayweather, which would be a Demetrius Andrade. That's all that Floyd Mayweather fight did, is make sure I ain't fighting nobody like that no more. And his boy Oscar Valdez just validated that by being whitewashed by Shakur Stevenson. So we won't see him fighting anybody like an Andrade anytime soon, and you will see the press helping him to not fight anybody like an Andrade soon. I know he's fighting Bivol, and Bivol is not a bad fight. Neither was Kovalev. It's not a bad fight when you just look at it for what it is, just a fight. But it's not as significant as the fights against Andrade and Charlo would have been, or would still be up until right now. So we can continue with the Canelo lies. That's up to you guys. But the bottom line is, hell no, Canelo, you ain't getting away with it here. And hell no, he wasn't beating no prime Mayweather. With what? Unless you say, well, he got footwork now? He's faster now on his feet? That wouldn't have happened. And you know something? I think from 100 people, 95 people would say not a chance against a prime Mayweather. And just keep it in mind, just to make sure, since we're gonna say prime and we're doing this theoretically, when they're the same size, we'll put that in there. And then what do you got? Maybe 98 people. So I'm up out of here, y'all. I'm enjoying my vacation. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.